difficult divorce can feel like a death in the family. Bud Klueck and Dr. Keith Cannon are here to help us get a handle on your grieving right now. And that's Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was a local. She was a resident here of San Diego. Spent a lot of time. I had the great fortune of meeting her more than a couple of times and visiting with her. And she is the one that really developed the 5 stages. Is she not of grieving? I'll ask you first, Dr. Cantor. All right, we'll go to the mental health.
She did, actually. Kubler-Ross did establish those. They've changed over the years, though, in the sense that we still have the basic ones, which are denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance, which we'll go through a little bit in detail.
Yeah.
But what's changed now is that you don't go through them sequentially anymore. People go through these stages at different times. They last a different amount of time. So you can be angry one day, sad another. You can be in denial another, confused in another. And it's a process that takes time and time to get through, depending upon...
Some of the stages, I imagine, can come up even years later.
Absolutely.
Can they not?
Anniversaries are huge. Christmas time, especially with kids and adults. And how kids handle divorce is much different than adults following this mourning process, because it is a death, like you said, Joe. I mean, this is a real death, and the kids go through it. But the kids, unlike adults, will not necessarily talk to you about it. They show you in their behavior. So a lot of times a kid who's feeling really angry about a divorce will act out. Or a child who's feeling sad may not have much energy. So parents have to be very, very, very conscientious of their kids and how they're dealing with this process. And the parents themselves have to know what they're going to go through themselves, too, to help their kids.
Yeah, now, can there be some confusion? You're going through one stage, the child's going through another, and how are you aware of it?
The party's going through something.
And here's an added piece to this, too, is it's always important to realize, who initiated the divorce. Oftentimes, one party who initiates the divorce is already going through a process before everybody else is. So they may be at a completely different stage in the mourning process than the other spouse or the kids. So it's very confusing. The kids are always looking to the parents to see how the parents are handling it. So parents, if you're going through a divorce, you've got to be amicable. You've really got to be there for your kids and manage yourself, but really work with your kids to get through it.
Well, all right, now, Bud, what's the legal side of this, then?
Well, the legal side of it has to do with the psycho-emotional aspects. That's why I believe that do-it-yourself divorces never quite work, because doing family law right, and if you do it properly, it's like playing 5 different chess games on 5 different levels simultaneously. And one of the phenomenon is just the one that Keith is referring to, because the husband and wife will be going through these 5 stages, but not necessarily sequentially, and not necessarily at the same time.
Well, I imagine that brings up, especially if the one has been contemplating the divorce proceedings and going through the lengthy illness, if you will, and the other one, it's a sudden death. And so there's, I can see that. Oh, wow.
And that has
let's say somebody's in the anger stage and the other person is in the bargaining stage. Now, how does that work out? Well, the person who's angry is trying to get every possible advantage into the negotiation. Meanwhile, the bargainer thinks that if I'm really nice while we're negotiating, maybe he'll see that this really doesn't work and that he'll come back to me because I'm really such a nice person. And then at the end of that process, you have a very unfair agreement.
And the kids are watching this go on, Joe, and they're going through their own rebounds with things based on how the parents are handling it, and internally how they're doing based on their relationships with those parents. It's very complicated. It's very difficult.
You never think of this.
No.
And so how do you know, then? How do you determine, and how do you, as a psychologist, to determine what stage these two are going through, so that you can
not only have to do that, but
something.
you not only as a practitioner, as a legal practitioner, not only you have to know that and sense that and figure that out, but you have to kind of tamp it down. That's the reason why it's useful to have people who are not part of that emotional fray that can help, that have gone through the process, but not in the same way you're going through the process, because you're not being batted back and forth with a ping pong ball. For example, like a ping pong ball. For example, let us say somebody's in the depression stage and the other person is in the acceptance stage. What does that look like? The guy says, put any paper in front of me and I'm going to sign it. You know, that, I guess that sounds a little like Eeyore the donkey in the Winnie the Pooh movies, but the point is,
but when you're depressed, that's what happens.
That's
right.
And
so from a mental health point of view, you've got to really evaluate where people are. It's really important that parents are really looking at, okay, where's my child in this process? How are they handling it? And the adults, too. You've got to know what these stages are. Think about it yourself. Talk about it with a professional or someone who you can trust, and then try to work as much as you can together to get through this. It's a very difficult, and it takes a long time.
And from a legal point of view, Joe, you are making long-term decisions that are going to affect you
Yep.
for years and possibly for the rest of your life when you are an emotional basket case going through all of these 5 stages of grief, which is why you need a professional to help you out, it strikes me.
Well, there's the professional right there. Law and Mediation Offices of Garrison Klueck. You just call Bud and figure it out. Get a hold of Keith Kenner, too.
Through our website, fox6.com.
Fox6.com.
We've got this on our web and on our blogs.
Yeah,
so
and watch this segment again. You hear me? All right.
Take care of your kids, everybody.
Yeah,
They're going through a tough time with this.
Your kids and yourselves.
Put them first.
Still